The heavy rain poured relentlessly over the city as Aaron Knight, one of the most powerful CEOs in the country, sat alone in his glass office on the top floor of Knight Industries. Everyone feared him, a man whose heart seemed carved from stone, a man who fired people without blinking, who didn't believe in emotions, only results. He had built his empire from the ground up, but in doing so, he'd lost something deeper, a compassion. That night, his eyes were glued to his laptop, finalizing a deal worth millions, when he heard a faint knock on his office door. At first, he ignored it. It was past midnight and no one would dare disturb him. But the knock came again, softer, trembling, a broken bar, almost desperate. Annoyed, Aaron rose and opened the door. Standing there was a little girl, soaked in rain, barely 8 years old, clutching a small worn-out teddy bear. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Her voice was barely above a whisper when she said, "Mr. Broken Bar, please help me. They hurt my mama. Broken Bar, she's dying." Aaron froze. His cold expression faltered for the first time in years. "What did you say?" he asked, thinking he might have misheard. The girl swallowed hard, tears mixing with raindrops on her cheeks. "Please see Broken Bar, my mom works for you. She cleans the offices here. Some men hurt her when she was leaving work. She told me to find you a Broken Bar to tell you she can't breathe." Aaron's world suddenly tilted. He felt something in his chest that he hadn't felt in decades, a guilt. Without another word, he grabbed his coat, lifted the trembling girl into his arms, and ran out into the rain. When they reached the dark alley behind his company building, Aaron saw her, a woman lying unconscious on the wet ground, her uniform stained with blood. He knelt beside her, shock etched across his face. He recognized her. Maya. She was one of the janitors he'd seen occasionally, always quiet, always polite. She'd once smiled at him and said, "Even rich people need kindness sometimes." He hadn't responded then. Aaron quickly called for an ambulance, his hands shaking as he pressed his jacket against her wound. The little girl held her mother's hand tightly, crying, "Mommy, please wake up. I found him. The big boss. He's here." When the paramedics arrived, Aaron insisted on going with them. For once, he didn't care about his reputation or schedule. Sitting in the ambulance, he held Maya's hand, feeling the pulse weaken under his fingers. He whispered, "Hold on, Maya, you're not leaving her alone." At the hospital, the doctors rushed her into emergency surgery. Hours passed. The little girl, whose name was Leela, sat beside Aaron, her tiny frame shivering. She looked up at him and asked innocently, "You're the man who makes lots of money, right?" Aaron nodded weakly. "Dana Broken Bar, can you buy my mom a new heart? I don't want her to go to heaven yet." Those words shattered the last piece of stone left in Aaron's chest. He turned away, wiping a tear that escaped despite his control. "I'll do everything I can, Leela, I promise." When the doctor finally came out, his face was grim. "She lost too much blood. We did everything we could. She's in a coma now. We're not sure if she'll wake up." Leela burst into sobs, clutching her teddy bear. Aaron stood frozen, the world spinning. For the first time in years, he didn't know what to do. But then, something inside him shifted, a sense of responsibility, not as a CEO, but as a human being. Over the next few days, Aaron stayed at their hospital. He arranged for the best doctors, paid every bill, and made sure Leela had food, clothes, and a place to sleep. His employees whispered that the cold-hearted CEO had changed overnight. They didn't know why, but Aaron did. He started visiting Maya every evening, reading out loud beside her bed while Leela fell asleep in the chair. He learned about her struggles, how she had raised her daughter alone after her husband died in an accident, how she took extra shifts cleaning just to buy school books for Leela. One night, Aaron found himself sitting by her bed, saying softly, "I never thanked you, Maya Broken Bar, for working so hard for people like me who never noticed. But I'll make sure your daughter never suffers again. That's my promise." Weeks passed. One morning, Leela tugged at his sleeve, her face lighting up. "Mr. Aaron." Mommy moved her hand. Aaron jumped up, rushing to the bed. Maya's eyes slowly fluttered open. She looked weak but alive. Her gaze moved from her daughter to the man standing beside her, the man who once ignored her existence. "Aaron," she whispered faintly. "Why Broken Bar are you here?" He smiled, the first genuine smile he'd given in years, because your daughter came to me and reminded me what it means to care. Tears rolled down Maya's cheeks as she squeezed his hand. Thank you, a broken bar, for saving us. No, Aaron said softly, looking at Leela. You both saved me. Months later, Aaron established a new foundation in Maya's name, the Leela Hope Foundation, dedicated to supporting single mothers and children in need. His company transformed from a ruthless empire into a place that valued people first. Employees began to see the change their CEO, once feared, now greeted them with warmth and humanity. And every day, after work, Aaron would visit Maya and Leela. The three of them would sit in the garden behind the hospital, laughing as Leela told silly stories. The story spread across social media the CEO who found his heart because of a little girl's knock. But for Aaron, it wasn't about fame, it was about redemption. Because that night, when a little girl knocked on his door and said, "They hurt my mom. She's dying," she didn't just save her mother, she awakened the humanity he thought was lost forever.